You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. But in a time and place where salt and light are taken for granted, it might be hard what Jesus means. How dark a night really can be, we only actually experience when there's a power outage. And I honestly can't think of any circumstance where we don't have salt. To understand what Jesus wants his listeners to understand, I think we have to dive a little bit into a cultural history of salt. In his book, Salt, A World History, Mark Kolansky writes, from the beginning of civilization until about 100 years ago, salt was one of the most sought-after commodities in human history. In ancient times, salt was believed to ward off evil spirits in Greek and Roman culture, but also in Germanic traditions. There are several examples in the Bible where the use of salt is mentioned in sealing a covenant. The qualities of salt as a conservative symbolize the durability of the union. Salt was also used in medicine to disinfect wounds, to check bleeding, to stimulate thirst, and to treat skin diseases. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt, which created the English word for salary. Brides and grooms rubbed salt on their bodies, not for conservation purposes, but to enhance fertility. In German, we still use the saying, if the food is oversalted, the cook is in love. Now you know why. And of course, in all the centuries before refrigeration, salt was essential for food preservation. Nowadays, we still use salt for all sorts of purposes. I have salt in my kitchen for food and in my bathroom to rinse my sinus, and it's useful against some food and drink stains, and it's great for art projects. If we don't have enough salt in our bodies, we die, and if we have too much, we die too. Let's get back to the gospel text. Last week we started on this world-famous text, the Sermon on the Mount. And we had the so-called Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Jesus doesn't say, you may be blessed if you see your situation from this angle, or you might experience your suffering as a blessing in disguise if you would view it from a different perspective. That's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, you are blessed. And he is not talking to his disciples or a chosen group of special people, but a crowd that had been following him from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the Jordan region. People of all ages, all family situations, all different occupations, different financial and social backgrounds, likely even different religions. And Jesus says, blessed are you. And in the same way, he addresses his audience directly now using the second person. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. God has made you and blessed you for a particular role in creation's redemption. What role? First, even in small quantities, very small quantities, salt and light can make a big difference. A pinch of salt brings a dish's flavor alive. Salt is one of the only spices that can enhance and bring out other flavors in a dish. And even just a little bit of light, a single candle can light up a room. It can even light up a landscape. A candle is visible from more than 1 mile away, 1.6 miles to be precise. Second, both salt and light have simple elemental purposes. As a seasoning, salt is salty. No one would use salt that lost its taste. Salt is for saltiness. Its identity and its purpose are virtually one and the same. Likewise, light is for shining. Just as no one would use unsalty salt, no one lights a lamp and then hides it out of sight. And in the same way, our identity and purpose, who we are and what we are meant to do, are virtually one and the same. Like salt and light, God made you as a small thing that can make a big difference for a larger whole. God made you to spice up things, not to overpower the dish, but to enliven it, to enhance and highlight its other flavors. And likewise, God made you to shine as only you can. A flame that can light up an entire room or help guide a lost traveler home. So Jesus isn't giving his listeners a new role to play here. Rather, he's naming who we already are. We don't have to work to become salt and light. God made us this way, blessing us with gifts that can bless the world. But we do have to claim it, to embrace and live out these gifts. We do have to actually be salty and luminous, fulfilling and embodying what our gifts make possible. We do have to be who we are. Over the next 2 weeks, we will travel in the gospel reading through the Sermon on the Mount. And in this reading today, Jesus pivots from announcing blessings to giving instructions, and he uses some introductory phrases on how to understand what he's going to say. He says, every one of these forthcoming instructions is built on the foundation of blessing. Jesus doesn't say, you wayward and sinful generation, leave behind your transgressions and transform yourself into salt and light. That sounds more like John the Baptist. Rather, he says, you are salt and light. God made you to bless the world. You may feel small and insignificant, but like a pinch of salt or a spark of light, you can make a tremendous difference. Go boldly, then, and be who you are. And for heaven's sake, don't hide your light. Go and shine for all to see. In short, the essence of Jesus' sermon is not do these good works in order to be blessed. Instead, it's the reverse. You are blessed and made to be a blessing, so go out and live your destiny. In this way, the sermon is designed to make clear that good works, including the actions that Jesus will now command in the rest of the sermon and beyond, are not strategies for earning or acquiring blessing. They are instead tangible ways to respond to our blessedness in gratitude and confidence, and so to bless the world in joy and love. But before turning to more specific instructions, Jesus adds one more introductory note. Some of the teachings, he says, that are to come may at first sound rather different from what you've heard about the law. But don't worry. If you follow my instructions, you'll fully embody the essential features of what Moses taught by filling out and exemplifying the law's meaning, spirit and substance. I'm not about abolishing or changing the law. I'm about getting to the heart of the law, giving it inner life so you can fully live it out. So like salt, we don't exist to preserve ourselves, but to enliven, enhance, deepen, and preserve the world we live in. And to tie it back to last week's reading, we should do it by walking humbly, because only a pinch of salt is needed to make a difference. Salt is not meant to dominate. So as you go into your week, think about how you as salt and light can interact with the world around you. Don't hide your light. Don't just stick around in your salt jar. Shine your light and pour yourself out, because like salt and light, that is when and how we are fulfilling our purpose. When we give ourselves to the world around us, when we share the blessing that we have received. Amen.